Coming up next on News Ohio, big changes to the SAT cause some students to have more questions than answers to the test. Then,
before you hear the ring of the cash register, you might want to shut the ringer of your cell phone off. Find out what this is all about coming up in today's video conference from Berea High School.
We love our principal, obviously.
And a walkout turns rowdy when students protest the loss of their principal. You'll want to take a seat for this story. News Ohio starts now. So, all those little bits of information your parents told you, who would have thought they could help you make a difference? Hey guys, Jonathan and the team back with you again. You know what I'm talking about. Standing up for what you believe in, doing the right thing, and even looking both ways before crossing the street. Well, students in Hudson may have looked both ways, but one way they're not looking is back. They took a stand to make their voice heard in support of their principal, whose contract was not renewed. WKYC's Vic Gideon has more on how their message might have gotten misconstrued. Did you see even one of the students who organized the walkout felt that the point of it may have gotten lost in the heat of it all? But how could you not hear the message of over 500 students rallying support? So Manoj, well, usually the third time's the charm. But even the seventh time around, the Cloverleaf School District still couldn't get their levy passed. This failure might send them into fiscal emergency. That's why they're heading back to the polls to raise the $4 million they need. But this May's levy is going to tap into income taxes rather than property tax. A major change in how Ohio raises education dollars. Well, their suspension got reversed and the students were allowed to return to their classes. But it makes you think, how would you react if this happened to you? Let's get your take. It's time for the buzz. In the last two stories, you saw how bystanders chose to step aside and watch a brutal beating take place. But were they just minding their own business? Or should they have said or done something to stop the violence? That brings us to this week's buzz question. If you saw a fight break out right in front of you, what would you do? You can log on to our website at newsohio.kent.edu. Click on the respond link to send us your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. And while you're on the site, you could click on some links and find out more ways to get involved in your community. And be sure you check out our full link show, Thursday and Friday mornings on WVIZ PBS Idea Stream.
Remember, you have a voice, so use it. Have a great morning. We'll see you next week.
We're on third and heading for home. But first, here's a little something our hometown tribe is doing for Cleveland schools. The Cleveland Indians have pledged $250,000 to help students afford pay-to-play costs for this spring's baseball and softball seasons. $100,000 of that has already been handed out, and students are happy with the team's Grand Slam gift.
When I found out the Indians were going to help us fund, I was relieved because baseball is basically what I've been doing my whole life.
It would be great if the Browns and the Cavaliers could match dollar for dollar what the Indians are doing for baseball and softball this year.
Well, I guess you could say they really hit one out of the park with their contribution into the community. Well, we ran through our roster of stories for this week, but we have more on deck for next week.
It beats having a fish in a bowl or a gerbil, so I wanted something that would have an impact on them.
We'll have a story about one first-grade classroom that has a very special four-legged helper. And we'll also tell you about how one boy was traumatized at school.
What broke my heart was she told me that he was up in front of the class crying.
And it wasn't by a bully or a bad grade. Remember, you have a voice, so use it. For all of us at News Ohio, we'll see you next week. Well, thanks, Sonia. Well, guys, it's a big world out there, and you should know what's going on in it. Let's see if you can get the answers to these quick questions right. I'll run down the questions and then come back to see how many you got right. Fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. It's the highest court in the land, and our current president just appointed its two newest members. Here's my question for you. Number one, how many justices sit on the U.S. Supreme Court? Well, earlier we showed you a story about how McDonald's was complying with new rules set out by the FDA. Well, the Food and Drug Administration regulates a lot of stuff. Now, which one of these things don't they have any control over? This can of Pringles, my face wash, my cell phone, or my running shoes? Number three, MySpace is sweeping the land. Posting blogs, finding new friends, or searching for that undiscovered band has been taking up a ton of my spare time, and maybe yours too. But do you know which one of these media giants bought the parent company that operates the MySpace site? Is it A, Viacom, B, NBC, C, News Corp, or is it D, Disney? All right, here's the last one. Now, this woman's accomplished a whole lot in her lifetime, and she's probably not much older than your mom or dad. But who is she? All right, so how'd you do? Sure, some were a little easier than others, but let's go back and see how many you got right. The first question I asked had to do with the Supreme Court, and it's 9 justices that make up the highest court in the land. It's had some pretty high turnover in the past few months. 2 justices were just appointed to the bench, and both of them will probably be around quite a while, seeing that a term in the Supreme Court lasts for life. All right, next I asked which one of these things wasn't regulated by the FDA. The chips, the face wash, my cell phone, or the running shoes. Well, they have no say over what kicks I wear, so the right answer is the shoes. Now, the FDA regulates everything from what we and our pets eat to our microwaves, or even what you bought from your mom's Mary Kay catalog. All right, bet you're dying for the answer to this one. Who bought MySpace? Was it A, Viacom, B, NBC, C, News Corp, or D, Disney? Well, News Corp, the owners of the Fox network, now own the rights to MySpace. News Corp is huge all over the world. They own TV channels, radio stations, TV Guide, and all sorts of other stuff. Last one. I asked you, who is this lady? If you said it was Condoleezza Rice, you're right. She's the current Secretary of State in President Bush's cabinet and the first African-American woman to hold the post. Well, that's it.